Well, it's martini time again. I'm glad you dropped in, and we have some interesting things to talk about. At least I think they're interesting. The last two evenings, I talked about the frog as a transitional guardian, one who retrieves the golden ball or the treasure of insight from the unconscious. And then last night we talked about the Virgin Mary, metaphorically as empty mind, so that if you want to receive insight, if you want to have the inception of awakening awareness, you have to empty the mind. So you have to get to be a virgin. So let's continue our investigation into the meaning of metaphor. This creates such a big problem in our society because, particularly in religious and non-religious thinking, religious and secular thinking, both confuses metaphor. So, for instance, if you said, well, let's take a look at a couple of metaphors here. That my favorite metaphor is my teddy bear. Now, Teddy is 76 years old. Lost an eye. I don't know where it went. Hair is falling out. He's been sewed up, and he needs sewing up again. And I don't know. He just wears out sitting there. I mean, I'm not playing with him. But Teddy is a metaphor in that for the child, the teddy is a guardian or an access or a portal to the heart. So if I love the teddy, my heart grabs the teddy and pours out love. But it's a metaphor because the teddy is not a real bear. So if I said you're a teddy bear, that doesn't mean you're a real bear. It means you're like a teddy, that you are a teddy bear. But you're not a teddy bear. So the metaphor always includes opposites. So there's an ironic factor to metaphor that cannot be explained by logical thought. So if I say you are, a metaphor is always combining opposites. So it is this and it's not this. So let's take another metaphor. Now I've got some shelves in there where I've collected and put all of my artifacts that I've collected in one place. And one of them that used to be my teddy bear is Ganesh. If any of you are familiar with Indian mythology, I got this one in India in 1980, and see it's carved on both sides. It's very nice. It doesn't have "Made in China" on it. So Ganesh is. Let me tell the story of Ganesh because see, the secular or the religious mind looks at this as it's a false idol. Who wants, it's stupid worship of an elephant. An elephant's not God. Well, of course not. And the teddy bear is not a real bear. Okay, so Ganesh is a threshold guardian. And the story of Ganesh, that's why I love Hindu mythology. I was introduced to it when I began yoga in Light of Yoga Society in Cleveland in 1970. And they were all involved in Joseph Campbell and in Indian mythology because the yoga that came into the country then came in with Indian packaging in the Hindu mythology. And I really love the Indian mythology because it gave my heart something to hold like a teddy bear. And there's a story and a philosophy with these little statues are not just statues, they are a whole philosophy or a story in a statue. So you don't have to be able to read to understand this. But anyway, the story of Ganesh is that Shiva and Parvati, his goddess, in Indian mythology, God and the goddess are always one. They're a married couple. They're not divorced and angry like Yahweh. They're always together, and they put Parvati put her son up at the gate door to guard the door to the bedroom. Well, Shiva came home one night and he was, I don't know, maybe he was a little drunk or something, and he says, "Who's in my way?" And he chopped his head off. Parvati says, "Look what you did, you idiot! You cut off the head of your son." Oh, God, I'm so, okay. And he told his men, "Go out and find the first head you can find and put it back on here." So they went out and found an elephant, and they put his head on there. So what the elephant is, there's two factors to the Ganesh in India. One of them, if you want to get to the inner sanctum of God, if you want to get into God's bedroom, you got to go through the threshold guardian, and he won't let you get in if you're not prepared, if you're not have not done enough, if your ego's too strong. In other words, you have to be a virgin. You have to be empty in order to get through this Ganesh, you see. So the other thing is, in India, that's very logical, that if you want to get through the jungle, you get behind an elephant. So the elephant, the guardian threshold, not only removes obstacles to knowledge of God and liberation, but he also is your guru. He's your guide in removing the obstacles to God and the goddess, you see. So there's two functions here. So he's kind of like a guru figure. But you'll notice in Christian, and I know if I say Christian mythology, it doesn't mean it's fake. It doesn't mean it's just fancy. Christian stories, put it this way, Christian biblical stories. But the Garden of Eden was basically the place where God lives, at the inner sanctum, and man, Adam and Eve, through their eating of the apple of good and evil, got kicked out. And he put two cherubs there to guard the entrance because the tree of life is in there. So man's wandering around out there in the world of time and history, wondering where the entrance is to get back to the garden. That's the same idea as getting back into the bedroom of Shiva and Parvati, you see, getting back to the garden. And instead of cherubs, we have Ganesh, you see. So Ganesh is the threshold guardian. In Christian mythology and story, it's the cherubs. Pairs of opposites. You have to get through the pairs of opposites, which is the paradox, is the Zen cone. You have to get through the puzzle. You have to cut the Gordian knot. You have to dissolve the ego's separation and arrogance from the world, which is the ego operates in the field of pairs of opposites, either this or that, you see. These have to become one in order to get through the gate and past the cherubs, you see. But we've kind of lost that in our mythology here because we think, well, the paradise is after you die. You're not going to get into it's hell now. You better, the future is when you can get through the gate. You can't get through it now, you see. Now something to get over in order to get to paradise or to get to God or salvation. It's always in the future, you see. But we've lost this ability to access now, or being, you see. And that's where metaphors become portals, because the metaphor is not about the future. The metaphor is about access to now, through me, you see. So the little Ganesh would be if you... Now here's something. All right, so I think you would probably think I was weird. Now you don't think I'm weird, I hope, because I have my teddy. Okay. But you might think I was weird if I had him on an altar and I had flowers there and I was burning incense, you see, and ringing bells, maybe chanting a bear chant, You might think I'd gone off nuts, you see. Okay, I might have. But the point is that this would be a way in which I kept my heart alive with my teddy, and I would know that it wasn't a real bear or a god. You see, it's a metaphor, and this our loss of our ability to understand transformational symbols and figures, like the Virgin Mary and the frog and the teddy bear and Ganesh and even Jesus, you see. You know, we've lost the ability to see them as transformational portals into the garden, which is always and already now. The garden is not in the future or the past. Our unity with life, my life, your unity with your life, is not in time, because time is in my mind. The only thing that really exists is this present moment, now. It's always now. This is the eternal now. It's always now. You see, talk about tomorrow. Whatever I think about tomorrow is now thinking about tomorrow or the past, you see. So I can't get out of now. Now is it. And that's where God in the garden is. It, now. It's right here, but we can't find it because we're in time, and we can't understand the metaphorical portals that open us back into the present moment as the timeless now. You see, you can't find the timeless now in time. So you have to drop time, which is thinking, and the thinker, all that has to drop. You have to become the virgin, empty it out, and that gives you access to the present, you see. But when you want to communicate that, you have to use a metaphor. So the metaphor opens, it's always pointing to now and time. But if we can't understand the metaphor, it cuts off the timeless, and we just think it points to facts, and it's stupid. It's not a bear, or that's God isn't, elephant's not God, you see. And the Garden of Eden is in the past, and the Promised Land's in the future. But yeah, there's nothing here now. This is a wasteland, something to get out of, something to endure, something to hope for a better life, you see. He's in a better place. This place is viewed from exile. This place, this now, is viewed from wandering, exiled people in time who have lost their ground, who have lost their anchor, who have lost their center, and they can find no way back because everything is factual, everything is in time, everything is in it, an object. It's made up of nouns. Everything is defined, you see. So when we do find a metaphor and we see the magic of it, it opens us up to wonder, and it opens up to the alchemy of the present moment. So I think that's it for today. We'll meet tomorrow, and who knows what we'll talk about. See you then.